So, you seem to think that the idea of an economic downturn worse than the Great Depression is just some sort of fucking fantasy. Sure, let's just brush off decades of economic history with a smug comment about mattresses, because nothing says expert economic analysis like dismissing systemic risks with the wave of a hand, because honestly, ignoring all of these warning signs that we have right now, it isn't just naive, it's fucking dangerous. Buckle up. I'm going to explain to you why your extremely oversimplified take couldn't be more wrong, and why ignoring the warning signs is a luxury we simply can't afford right now. I mean, let's be honest, the numbers aren't pretty, and the big picture's kind of scary. Inflation is still eating away at our wallets like some sort of fucking hungry beast. And as of last month, prices are still skyrocketing at 4.2% annually, way above what the Fed is wanting. This means your hard-earned cash is worth less every day, making everything from groceries to gadgets and gas more expensive. The Fed has been trying to tame the inflation monster by jacking up interest rates, and they've cranked federal funds rate up to 5.75%, making borrowing pretty painful on the wallet right now. You want a new home or car? Good luck affording those sky-high interest payments. But I want to talk about jobs, because this is where things really start to get ugly. Unemployment has shot up to 5.8% last month. That's a far cry from the golden days of the Biden era. And laugh if you want to, but in 2023, we were celebrating record low unemployment at 3.4%, the lowest since the 60s, since the fucking moon landing, to be honest. Biden's administration was on fire, smashing records left and right. They added a mind-blowing 16.6 million jobs during his presidency. And before you go in on saying that it was just because of the pandemic, they didn't just recover the jobs lost in the pandemic, they blew past that by almost 5 million jobs. And here's the kicker, man. The economy added jobs every single month Biden was in office. That's never happened before in recorded history. But now the job market miracle has come crashing down. People are losing their jobs, tightening their belts, and that's bad news for an economy that runs on spending. The stock market, it's a roller coaster, and not the fun kind. The S&P 500 has nosedived 15% since New Year's, wiping out trillions in market value. That's a punch in the gut for millions of Americans watching their retirement savings shrink. Wall Street's big brains have been sounding the alarm. Goldman Sachs think there's a 65% chance we're heading for a recession in the next year. Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan are singing the same fucking tune. And let's not forget the tech bubble that's ready to pop. AI company valuations are through the roof, giving everyone .com bubble deja vu. And if that bubble bursts, it's going to send shockwaves through the entire economy. So when someone tells you the economy is doing great, they're either living in a fantasy world or they're not looking at the whole picture. These aren't just speed bumps we're dealing with. They're economic sinkholes that could swallow us whole if we're not careful. We might be staring down the barrel of a downturn that makes the Great Recession look like a fucking picnic. In fact, let's talk about why this could be even worse than the Depression in the 30s. During the Great Depression, industrial production in the U.S. fell by a staggering 47% between 1929 and 1933. Our current 15% stock market drop could be just the beginning of a similar freefall. Unemployment peaked at over 20% back then. We're at 5.8% now. But the speed of job losses is alarming, and if this trend continues, we could blow past the Great Depression levels faster than you can say breadline. But here's why our situation could be even more catastrophic. We're living in an entirely interconnected global economy. A hiccup in China ripples across the world at light speed. The Great Depression didn't have to deal with that level of economic domino effect. Do you remember how everything went nuts when the Ever Given crashed? Our supply chains are incredibly complex and vulnerable. A disruption in one part of the world causes shortages everywhere. Imagine not being able to get essential medicines or food because of a breakdown in international shipping. We are totally dependent on our technology. If our digital infrastructure collapses, we're talking about the paralysis of banking, communication, even basic utilities. In the 1930s, we didn't have to worry about cyber attacks or widespread system failures. The US government is drowning in debt. This limits their ability to stimulate the economy like they did with the New Deal. We might not have a lifeline this time around. And let's not forget about climate change. We're facing environmental challenges that could make economic recovery even harder. Extreme weather events could disrupt agriculture and infrastructure in ways the 30s never could have imagined having to deal with. Now picture this nightmare scenario. Supply chain disruptions cause widespread shortages, empty grocery stores, no gas at the pumps, critical medication shortages. The economy grinds to a halt as businesses can't get materials to operate. A stock market crash wipes out trillions in wealth overnight. Retirement savings gone. Banks start to fail, and this time, the government might not have the resources to bail them out. Unemployment will skyrocket past Great Depression levels, but unlike the 30s, most people don't have the skills to return to subsistence farming. Cities will become powder kegs of civil unrest. Our tech infrastructure, strained by lack of maintenance and cyber attacks, starts to crumble. We're talking rolling blackouts, internet outage, and the collapse of digital financial systems. Government services overwhelmed and underfunded, breakdown. Imagine a world where you can't count on police, firefighters, or ambulances showing up when you need them. All of this happens while climate change throws more curveballs our way, causing crop failures, natural disasters, and mass migrations that make recovery even harder. This isn't just a recession or even a depression. We're talking about the potential collapse of our economic and social systems, the ones that we rely on. It's a scenario that could make the 1930s look like a fucking cakewalk. So when someone says that we might be headed for something worse than the next Great Depression, they're not exaggerating. They're looking at our complex, interconnected, and vulnerable modern world and recognizing how catastrophic it would be if everything started to unravel at once. This isn't about spreading fear. It's about facing the real risks head on and understanding that we need serious, coordinated action to prevent the worst case scenario. The time of burying our heads in the sand is over. We really need to start preparing for and working to prevent these potential crises before it's too late. Now, I can already hear you wanting to pin all of this on the Biden administration, but that is an overly simplistic view that ignores the complex nature of our economy and global markets. Many of the economic challenges we're facing have roots that extend far beyond any single administration. The inflation we're dealing with now was set in motion by a combination of factors, including the massive stimuluses during the COVID pandemic, supply chain disruptions, global energy market fluctuations, and let's just face it, corporate greed. And the issues transcend party lines and presidential terms. The Fed, which controls monetary policy and interest rates, operates completely independently of the White House. The Fed's decisions to raise interest rates to combat inflation weren't dictated by Biden or any other president. Global events play a huge role in our economic situation. The ongoing tensions with China over Taiwan, for instance, aren't solely the result of Biden's foreign policy. They're part of complex geopolitical situations that have been developing for decades. The tech bubble we're seeing, particularly in AI stocks, is driven by market forces and investor behavior, not presidential policies. Not that they can't affect them, as we've seen recently. In fact, this kind of speculative bubble has occurred under both Republican and Democratic administrations throughout history. It's worth noting that economic policies often have delayed effects. Many of the economic trends we're seeing now are the result of policies and decisions made years ago, spanning multiple administrations. So while it's tempting to blame everything on the current administration, that's not accurate or a helpful way to understand our economic situation. As much as I want to blame Trump for everything, we got to be honest here. It's not just his fault. The reality is a whole lot more complex. Our economy is influenced by a wide range of factors, many of which are outside the direct control of any president or political party. I'm not suggesting we should panic or put money under mattresses. We should be realistic about the challenges we're facing and prepare accordingly. Diversifying investments, building emergency savings, and staying informed about economic developments are prudent steps for anyone to take in this environment. The economy is complex, and right now it's showing some serious warning signs. So let's not dismiss these concerns as being out of hand. Instead, we need to acknowledge these risks and have real conversations about how to navigate these uncertain economic times. Instead of playing the blame game, we should be focusing on understanding these complex economic forces and discussing practical solutions. That's the kind of constructive dialogue we need right now, not the partisan finger pointing. Not that I'm not guilty of doing that too.